らないそけない君の笑顔が恋しくて星に願うのまた会えるよね
What is up, Level Up Nation, and welcome to the September 19th edition of OTN's Level Up Live, your home for the hottest takes in gaming news. My name is Fiasco, and I am joined, as always, by the king of the courtside, but you can also call me John. You can call him Joey. We have real names. You don't have to go by gamer tags in IRL scenarios as well. Joey, what's poppin', buddy? How you doing?
John, it has been a hot minute. We're going over like notes and trying to remember how we did things. We took a pretty long summer break, I feel like. Maybe 1-2 episodes here and there since July. So it has been a nice little hiatus for us. We're also on a new platform. Most of you guys joining us from Twitch previously, checking out YouTube a little bit here for the start of September. Trying things a little differently, shaking things up a little bit. Who knows where we'll land in the end. But John, there's quite a bit happening in gaming, from hardware announcements to new games that are coming out and really making critics kind of say, hey, we might have some game of the year contenders on our hands already. Right. So we'll see what happens. Things are shaking up for this fall, and there's a lot of good things to cover tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, Joey. I think the biggest thing about YouTube is we don't have to try to rip it from Twitch and put it on this platform. So we're going to give it a shot here. We've used YouTube before. For those that have been with us for a long time, we were the official co-streamers for the Washington Justice and the Overwatch League for several years, especially during the COVID pandemic. Are we allowed to say that on YouTube? I don't know. During the era that shall not be named. How about that? We'll find out later if YouTube's like, oh, you can't say that. Yeah, we used YouTube there as they were official sponsor or stream for Overwatch League. So it is nice. There's a lot of positive things we like about YouTube. Not just the fact that we're going to be able to do the crazy thing of, I don't know, not having to wait forever for Twitch to download the video and wait forever for YouTube to upload it. So hopefully that means we get the product out to you, our fans, our listeners, faster, which is always a good idea. Now, if just whoever edits the damn audio for the podcast would just get off his lazy... I don't think you can cuss on YouTube yet. I don't know. Again, it's been forever. Anywho. Nation, make sure you follow the show if you are new here on our YouTube family, or if you're joining us from Twitch, you already know this as well. Follow the show on Twitter or X or whatever in the world Elon is calling it today, and Facebook at OTN Media. Threads is a thing as well. It is OTN_media. Instagram, same thing, OTN_media as well. And while you're on Twitter or X, make sure you give Joey and myself a follow. You can follow Joey at Courtside King. That's with 2 Ks there. And then you can follow myself at Is This Thing John. Yeah, we don't have any commands or anything like that like we do on Twitch here. So we'll have to, we'll figure it out.
We'll go all manual.
We'll do it live is what we're going to do. And Nation, while the live show is the place to be for Level Up Live, we do offer the show in the podcast form. Check out the Level Up podcast available on your podcatcher of choice. And we are there for you. No extra credit today because we're not quite sure how YouTube works, but nonetheless, if you're on Twitch, we would ask you to use your Amazon Prime sub while you still have it before the Amazon gods of Twitch remove it from the platform, as rumor states. But yeah, so that is that. Joey, you mentioned it a little bit here. What are some of our hot topics as we go in today's episode?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. We have not a ton of topics tonight, but we have some that we're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive on. Nintendo/Pokemon up against Pocket Pair and Pal World. A lot of back and forth with a new lawsuit that was filed from Nintendo. We have some new games coming up, as well as potential Switch 2 leaks that we'll be covering on tonight's show. On the PlayStation side, the blue side of the aisle, PlayStation Pro has been revealed. We'll go over some of the specs for that platform, our general thoughts on a Pro console coming out this late in a generation, and so on and so forth. PlayStation 30th Anniversary Collection also revealed. Pretty cool looking retro look there. And then some recent game launches from PlayStation that we haven't covered yet, so we'll touch tonight. Concord and Astrobot, to name a couple. Over in the Xbox side, in the green corner, the documentary on the development of Stalker 2, a game developed from a Ukrainian studio, GSC Game World, during the ongoing war with Russia. It is going to be a crazy documentary when that one drops in early October. Excited to touch on that tonight. We have some new games that recently launched or are coming very soon from Xbox as well. We'll touch on those, and then we will highlight a couple other games, some esports hits, and so on and so forth. A lot of big events coming here toward the end of the month. So we will be touching on those to let you guys know what to look forward to in the week ahead.
A lot of touching, but in the good way for video games. Joey, we have our topics and we are ready to go. But first, after the topic rundown, it is time for the drink of choice. As always, a time-honored tradition dating all the way back to episode 1. Does it exist? We don't know. We've deleted all records of it. We don't know if it really exists or not, so you can't fact check us. Drink of choice. Joey, your beverage, please.
John, I actually have something fancy tonight. Well, kind of fancy. I'm drinking a Boom Sauce from Lord Hobo. It's a double IPA coming out of Massachusetts, and the city is Woburn, Massachusetts.
Okay, the name of it sounds great. I'm gonna be honest with you. I hate IPAs, which means I doubly hate that drink.
I know you hate them, but you've had some good ones at like Aslan Beer Company before.
I've had one. One out of how many frat bros in their basement making their own damn IPAs? No, absolutely.
I don't know if that's a frat bro drink. What?
IPAs? Absolutely. You're talking to a frat bro, man. I was in a fraternity back in college. Jeez. We all made mistakes back then, Joey. We all made mistakes.
Gosh.
Joey, I don't have a beverage.
Oh my gosh. What are you going to do tonight? You're going to be so parched.
It's going to be a short show. We'll see how long it takes before YouTube cancels us. How about that? Simple as that. Joey, we have our topics. You have your beverage. I am what the kids are calling raw dogging it with no beverage today. So we are going to, I don't like that face you just made. Anywho.
Wow. Kids these days, I tell you.
I mean, have you heard about that whole challenge on airplanes? Like where you stare at the airplane map for the entire duration of the flight?
Literally have no idea what these. No, absolutely not. Nor do I ever want to imagine that people actually do that.
Nation, please help me encourage Joey to take out his phone and download TikTok so he can be up to date with all the current trends in the world and also to allow China to spy on him. Simple as that. Joey, we have our topics. You have your beverage. I don't want to waste any more time. It has been a hot minute, but it is time to jump into our gaming news. And up first, I was going to do a Mario impression, but I kind of feel like Nintendo would sue me if I would do that. So we're just going to go over to our big bad pals in red. And we'll go to Nintendo first, but also I should have changed our transition so it's not the opening transition. So those of us live and watching the VOD later on down the road, that's what you're currently looking at. I will go ahead and change that now as we won't have that mistake. And Joey, I'm going to turn it over to you. Let's talk about Nintendo.
Yeah, absolutely, John. Okay, so first story here, Pal World and Nintendo, Pokemon, lawsuits going all around. This is something that came out initially when we saw the first trailer for Pal World. I don't know what that was, like 9 months, maybe 12 months ago at this point. We saw a trailer. It looked like Pokemon with guns. People made their comments, so on and so forth. Then the game launched. It had incredible praise when it launched in January. The player count stayed around for quite a while. It's definitely dipped since then. We do see some big spikes when they put out some big content patches, but it doesn't have the huge player count it once did. It's an indie developer. It's not super surprising, especially in today's day and age where you have all these live service games, especially like Fortnite and Minecraft and Roblox, constantly vying for players' attention. So Nintendo has decided not only to go after this game and the developers after the game has definitely taken a significant nosedive in player count, but they're going hard after them. And John, not only that, but it looks like, and again, this is just kind of some initial research we've done, it looks like some of the patents were filed in May 2024. So not only is Nintendo going way after the fact, but they're going with these patents that were recently filed. Now, the initial complaints here are filed in the Japanese court. They may have had their patents earlier there. The ones filed in May were for the US court. So maybe that means they're going to look to go over here as well afterwards, depending on how things shake out in Japan. I'm really not sure. But for a family-friendly company, I really hate the fact that Nintendo just presses down on certain issues they choose to. Yes, copyright infringement could be a big thing. Patent infringement could be as well. Do I think this little indie dev is really infringing that much on them? No, not really. I think if anything, it's pushing Nintendo to say, hey, maybe we should reinvent Pokemon and make it a little better and change something, as opposed to the minor changes we've seen year over year, where Pokemon is starting to feel like an EA FIFA kind of game. We're like, oh yeah, we'll update the character models and we'll add a new gym leader and that'll be about it. And it just feels like they've gotten a little lazy with it. And I feel like this is their way of saying, hey, let's continue to be lazy with it. And I don't like that approach.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo's the anti-fun police when it really comes down to it, right? Yeah, I mean, are there some similarities? Let's be honest. Yes, there are. There are some serious similarities between some of the character models that we see in Power World and Pokemon. Like, I get it from a Nintendo standpoint when it comes from your IP, especially in a major title like Pokemon that has been around, since the 90s. Really, you could help attribute the anime boom in North America to Pokemon as well with its success early on, along with Dragon Ball Z, really expanding that genre here in the States as well. So Nintendo's going to be protective. We've seen Nintendo be protective about Mario and Luigi and Yoshi and Peach and all their other Mario characters as well. And they kind of do the same thing with Mario, right? They release a game and then in 10 years, they re-release it for the full price. And it's the exact same game, just on a new platform. And congratulations, you just dropped another $70 for a game you paid $70 for and own already from 7 years ago. So, I mean, it's a very Nintendo thing to do. I mean, Nintendo even gets in their own way when it comes to Smash tournaments. A way to bring fans together to celebrate their game in a competitive nature. I mean, right here in our own backyard, Joey, here in the Washington, D.C. area, is one of the largest Smash scenes in the world, if not, I should say in the States, but let alone the world, of, people flying from all over to compete in SmashCon or whatever they changed the name to. Nintendo constantly does this, and they can do it because they're Nintendo, right? And Nintendo picks and chooses who they go after. They pick and choose who they shut down. They pick and choose who they sue. And in this case, Nintendo feels threatened by this idea of Pikachu-like characters wielding AK-47s in a game, taking down big bosses. So yeah, I mean, like, I get it from a Nintendo standpoint. But from a gamer standpoint also, it's not a lot of fun, right? We want games like this. Like, this is a style of game that Nintendo would never dream about making. But yet the idea of using weapons and what appears to be Pokemon-esque like characters in game, it's just a new kind of vibe to it. Did Power Worlds do well when it released in beta? Yeah, it did. I played it for a very long time. But like anything else, the player base has fallen off a little bit. Is there going to get a bump once it officially releases? Yeah, probably. But at the end of the day, I really don't think Nintendo has anything to worry about, right? People are still going to play Pokemon. The Let's Go Eevee, the Let's Go Pikachu games, when they came out, they were essentially reskins of the classic Pokemon game, just put onto the Nintendo Switch. I really don't think they have anything to worry about. Nintendo's going to do well. They're going to continue to make money hand over fist. And I think the lawsuit's kind of silly at one point, but also it might be the most legit lawsuit Nintendo has actually filed in a very, very long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little scary, right? And again, Japanese laws are different than US laws, and
Yeah.
neither John or I are lawyers here.
Correct.
But I'm surprised they didn't go after copyright. When we're looking at Power World, the thing that really sticks out to you and I is, yes, some of the creature, some of the monster designs look similar to Pokemon. Sure, I think that argument can be made. Some of them look like recolors, some look like slightly retooled Pokemon. Sure, I think copyright could be grounds for them to push against. Now, again, indie developer, does it really matter that much? I feel like protecting Pokemon could matter enough for Nintendo to do that. Now, my issue with this one is it seems like they're going after patents, which supposedly, again, looking at Japanese law, we're looking at things that are more like game mechanics.
Yeah.
So this, one of the ones that they filed in the US is mounting. John, can you imagine if Pokemon and Nintendo have the right to tell everyone else they can't have mounting? What does that mean for World of Warcraft? What does that mean for any game you ride a freaking horse in? Like, I mean, that to me would be wild. If they can end up patenting the concept of mounting in video games, that just has wild implications across so many different games. The other one they're looking at is throwing balls to catch, summon, or attack other opponents or monsters. That one I could see them pushing a little bit more. But again, it is a mechanic that has been out there quite a bit. Now, I mean, you have balls that don't capture monsters, but you have balls that can be thrown for like food to monsters, and stuff like I think Monster Hunter uses concepts like that. Obviously, Pal World does use the ball concept very closely to the way Pokemon does. Um, I think we're heading to dangerous territory. Maybe not as much with the Pokeball thing. I think there's other ways to go around that for these developers. But mounting is just in so many games for so long. And part of me is like, okay, it's historic. They're not going to go after something like that. But at the same point, Nintendo just hit up a bunch of Steam creators who've had Nintendo content out there for 30 plus years and just had them recently take it down. So with Nintendo, there's just no boundaries. Nintendo does what Nintendo does.
Yeah, and the whole mounting thing, I think, is going to be thrown out.
It has to be.
The idea of, I mean, anyone who rides horses is going to get sued then by Nintendo because they're mounting the horse. And the whole thing of throwing a ball also. Marble players, I hate to break it to you, marbles are shaped like balls. You're in trouble. Football, congratulations, that's throwing a ball. You're screwed. Basketball, you're also screwed. I don't know. I think it's super petty, right? You know, you're going after the mechanics. I think the mechanics you're going to lose on. I don't think there's a single court in the world that's going to be like, oh yeah, you know, this idea of mounting a horse or a dragon or a drake or whatever, a falcon or a phoenix, you know, pick your choice. The idea of mounting that's not going to happen, right? There's no way. Throwing a Pokeball to capture something, I don't know. I mean, are we sure that there wasn't a game that included throwing a circular object to the ground to act as a trap prior to 1996? Like, I don't know, right? You know, the idea that you're going after these mechanics seem dumb as anything when, honestly, your best argument is that it's stolen intellectual property when it comes to the characterization of some of these pals in Pal World. I mean, there are some clear cut, like, okay, this is a copy and paste, change how the eyes look, change where the stripe is, and we're going to go with it kind of characters in Pal World. And that's going to be your best bet to really get them taken down or get money from them. But the idea that you're going to go after the idea or the mechanic of mounting or the mechanic of throwing something to capture a thing just seems like a loss already. I mean, the whole thing sounds stupid. This is right up there with Ohio State University trying to trademark the word "the." And it's like, cool, great. Change your trademark for your university to The Ohio State University, but you can't trademark the word "the." You didn't invent the word. The word was around before you. The idea was around before you. It's ridiculous. Like, but hey, you know, in today's world, anything can happen, especially in the land of courts. I don't know. Personally, if this was me, I'd throw all these cases out unless Nintendo goes the IP route of stolen intellectual property. Then I think they actually have a very good case in that sense. Again, not a lawyer, just a personal opinion.
Right. And that's the part that, again, the copyright side. So from Bloomberg here, Nintendo filing this lawsuit patent infringement, not copyright violation, means it has given up making the case that Pal World's characters are similar to Pokemon's, said Toyo securities analyst Hideki Yasuda. But it shows Nintendo has more ways to stop games it doesn't like. The company owns a lot of patents related to basic game mechanics that are used in many titles available today. That, to me, again, it comes down to the stuff like the mounting, the throwing of objects. That makes me nervous. Now, again, is Microsoft going to go chew off the branch and try to hit a Microsoft, or rather Nintendo trying to hit Microsoft or Sony or even Square Enix, some of these bigger developers and publishers? I don't think Nintendo is going to go that far and try to bite off that branch. When you're looking up against someone like a Sony, like a Microsoft, there is obviously a lot more money to be put into the court system and their lawyers to defend in certain cases. So I think Nintendo, and again, this is what we've seen them do with content creators and tournaments before. They don't go after the big guys. They go after the little guys. And I don't really like the fact that this is the route they're going, especially if it is these bigger mechanics like mounting, like throwing balls, different things like this in video games. I think it's just a dangerous trend to set. Now, again, don't want to blow this out of proportion just yet. This is only based on Japanese patents at the moment, regardless of what is done in US and Europe and all these other places, those court cases have not been filed yet. As of right now, it is only filed in Japan. So we'll have to wait and see how that one plays out to probably set a precedent for what Nintendo might do throughout the rest of the world regarding these other patents. Last but not least, a little plug here. Hard Drive Magazine has been killing it.
They're incredible.
They have absolutely been destroying people across the board with great pieces lately. Highly recommend checking this one out, as well as many of the other ones they posted this week. Pocket Pair hires identical lawyers with guns. Harddrive.net. Check that one out. Very entertaining. Really good stuff coming out of Hard Drive lately.
Oh, I gotta find this. We're gonna give them a plug here real quick.
Oh yeah, there you go.
No, here, opinion: guns don't kill people. Pokemon with guns kill people. Which, you know, obviously very topical if you're here in the United States. Also, let me go and see if I can throw this up on here real quick. I mean,
so entertaining.
It's just so good. Like, they make some of the best satire out there right now. You know, you have that post. You've got. Oh, there you go. Nintendo lawyers run out of PP for signature DMCA move. Some choice words. Yeah, these guys are great. These guys are absolutely hysterical, and with guns, yeah, love that. And just because I am a hater of Jeff Keighley, because I love to criticize him. Have to show the bootlicking stuff as well. So that was a while ago. I may have to scroll for a bit. Anywho, I don't know. Maybe I'll just, okay, never mind. We'll just skip past it. But yeah, Hard Drive putting out some great content also. So a little shout out to them.
Yeah, very entertaining stuff. Highly recommend checking it out. Moving forward, though, John, anything else you want to touch here on the Pal World Nintendo stuff? I think for the most part, with us not being lawyers, we kind of just got to wait to find out what the actual mechanics Nintendo is filing around here, and then kind of go from there.
I'll be honest, I'm afraid to touch it because I don't want to be sued for anything from Nintendo. Your boy just recently got a raise a couple months ago, and I don't want to lose that raise because Nintendo is like, money.
I feel like Nintendo and Mario has kind of become the Disney and Mickey Mouse of gaming. Like, this is where we are, where they just jump on little things here and there everywhere they can find.
But like, Mickey Mouse isn't, like, the patent for Mickey Mouse is up.
Yeah, now it is.
Like, I mean, it was 100 years, but still, like.
Well, and it's only the Steamboat Willie version at the moment.
That's true. Wow. Well, I mean, never mind. Anywho, moving on. I'm not going to attack the mouse because the mouse scares me.
Exactly. Nintendo, mouse, same category. We don't mess with them. So we will continue to move forward and talk about some new Nintendo Switch 2 designs. These are leaked photos. They are not leaked from us, Nintendo. Don't worry about that. We are simply gazing at them here from a distance. Looking at some of the stuff here, we've pretty much confirmed a lot of the stuff that has been said previously. Bigger screen, OLED screen design. We have some other stuff in here as well where it could be, I believe it's magnetic connectors on the Joy-Cons moving forward. That's been something that's kind of been leaked and spread around for quite a while now. For those who are really techie, a lot of the different chipset and stuff came out as well, from memory models to flash memory, audio chips, NFC readers, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go through all these numbers and letter combos, but if you guys want to check them out and find out exactly what they all mean, you're more than welcome to do so. But we like looking at pictures over here on the podcast, especially the live show version where you guys can look at them with us. John, this is a sleek design. I really like the look of this. I think we're seeing more and more sleek handhelds come out. You have the Logitech Cloud one that was pretty sleek. Obviously, the Steam Deck, very popular and sleek. The Switch in the initial form, a little bit more blocky, but still very popular all the same, and around the same general size. For a successor, this looks pretty good to me, John. The only issues, and again, I don't 100% know where it landed in the end, but I know the rumor was that it was going to be on the same power level as an Xbox One and PS4. That to me seems very dulled compared to the fact that I think the Xbox Series X and PS5 were like something like 7 to 10 times stronger. Don't quote me on that. But obviously significantly stronger, especially in the graphics department. Now, Nintendo games, your Legend of Zelda, your Mario, don't necessarily need the strongest graphic power. But again, I think it still stunts growth in that third-party development. You pretty much, if you want to have those big graphic third-party games on there, they're either going to look super washed out like we saw with, I believe it was Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, or you're going to end up having to stream them from the cloud, which in many cases does degrade that graphic quality as well. So I love the look of the hardware. I'm a little concerned with the power of the hardware. But again, the original Switch, much less powerful than what we saw from Xbox and PlayStation. It still sold extremely well. And I don't really necessarily think people who are on Nintendo care too much about power to begin with.
I don't think they care much about graphics either.
Yeah.
If I'm being completely honest, I mean, the fact that a handheld of this size is going to have the power of a PS4 is actually somewhat impressive. I mean, from a technology standpoint, being able to go from, granted the PS4 wasn't exactly massive or anything. We're not talking PS5 super router status or the behemoth that was a PlayStation 3. So it's streamlined, right? Obviously, my question is going to be battery life. In a very slim model like this, obviously, you're going to have a slim lithium-ion battery, which, again, depending on how many cells, there's a whole bunch of questions in there as well. It comes down to recharging. The thing that worries me is the magnetic Joy-Con rumor. If it is magnetic, here's my concern. In moments of intense gaming, what do we as gamers tend to do? Grasp harder on our controllers, right? Sweaty palms, mom spaghetti, that kind of stuff.
Mom spaghetti, is that a thing?
No, it's the Eminem 7 Mile reference. Or
wow, that is a hot minute since I've heard that one.
Knees weak, hands are sweaty, mom spaghetti.
Yeah, that is like, wow, he went way back on us on that one.
Well, I throw a little pop culture in there every now and then. Call me Houdini.
Hey.
So my thing is if this is magnetic, one, how strong are the magnets? Two, I don't know. Well, personally with me, like I get the plastic design of the Joy-Con. A lot of people are a little meh about. But the one thing that they do well is they lock in place, so you don't have to worry about them sliding. Magnetics make me worried about sliding, especially like if you're really getting into it, or God forbid it's one of those racing games and you're actually maneuvering and manipulating the entire console in this case. How strong are those magnets going to be? Then another question comes down to is when you don't have the Joy-Cons on, if they're strong magnets, what else is it going to pick up? If you put this dock next to a TV or something and there's strong magnets, or next to a computer and there's strong magnets open, that is a concern in of itself. Other than that, this 3D rendering, if it is to be true, I do like it. It's slim, it's sleek. It has the layout that has worked for the Nintendo Switch. The Joy-Con placements and the buttons haven't changed. Everything on it just looks like a more sleek, upgraded, professional version of the Switch. And honestly, as someone who still does not have a Switch, I'm weird. This is a very attractive design. Again, there's still a lot of questions. We're gonna have to wait to see how it comes out in its final go through. But I think Nintendo did a good job with it. I don't think. I will say this. I am let down a little bit with all the rumors that came out about the Switch 2 coming out and then all the supposed delays. For this to be the model, if you will, if this leak is true, is kind of like, really, you had to delay it and this is what you came up with? Like, what'd you have to do? Like smooth the texture over on the 3D model a little bit more? Like, there's nothing groundbreaking here is what I'm trying to say, right? It's obviously the slimmer version, which is what we tend to see in mid-generation upgrades or re-releases, like we're going to be talking about a little bit later. Or in this case, the relaunch of the Switch 2, if you will, the Switch Pro or whatever. To me, the design didn't really live up to the hype that Nintendo was kind of creating with it.
Yeah.
So it looks cool. It looks great. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes on why it needed to be delayed. Maybe they were taking R&D funding from the Switch 2 to move it over to their anti-Pal World lawyer team. Don't know. But again, like it's interesting. It looks cool, but it's kind of a little bit of a letdown if I'm being honest.
Yeah, there's nothing super unique, right? Like I feel like the trigger that you have pictured there on the back is slightly different, or at least that like side back trigger thing that's over there. I don't recall that on the initial unit. It's been a hot minute since I picked my Switch up. But I think the interesting thing is that Nintendo is catering to their audience, right? Like when we look at handhelds, there are so many options out there, whether you want fully cloud, whether you want a literal native PC in your hand with something as powerful as the Steam Deck. We know there's rumors of Xbox and PlayStation both working on handhelds as well. We had PlayStation come out with a cloud one recently. Xbox supposedly has what could be a cloud, what could be a native one. There's very few details out there and rumors at the moment of what that handheld looks like. And we know there's other people out there developing too, right? Like you have MSI, you have Asus. A number of people could easily jump into the handheld market if they're not already in there. So I am curious to see what this looks like in comparison to these other ones. If you're looking at high end, you're obviously going to go for your Steam Deck or one of these other bigger high end, more like PC in your hand devices. This one, though, I think Nintendo understands they can't compete with the Steam Deck in the sense that we are not a high end gaming. A lot of our IP does not need that graphical power, does not need the high intensity of a CPU. Rather, we're going to cater to exactly what we're putting out. More cartoony graphics, more family friendly, obviously a nicer price point because you have less power. You're not paying as much to develop these units. And I think Nintendo just understands that. They understand their market at this point. They're not trying to be too innovative. They realize the original Switch sold extremely well and is still selling extremely well. I mean, freaking Mario Kart, guys, they've had a new Mario Kart ready for like years. And why are they not selling it? Because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe continues to be in the top selling chart year over year, all the freaking time. It's like Call of Duty for Nintendo. It's wild.
Stop buying it.
Right. Like, why release a new one when the old one continues to sell like crazy? And I mean, that's just Nintendo being Nintendo. They have found their market segment. They know what they're doing. They say, why do we need to change too much if we have so much success with the initial one? We just need to be able for it to hold the new graphics of our upcoming games. And I think that's simply what we're getting here, really. They're making little tweaks, but for the most part, it's just, hey, the technology is lagging behind. We at least need it to hit the minimum floor once again. And this is going to go a little past that minimum floor, giving them some room to grow for the future. But again, it will probably sell like hotcakes because a lot of those people on the original Switch or people like John who maybe didn't buy into the initial Switch might look to consider the Switch 2 when it does come out. It sounds like next spring. So good times over Nintendo World. I don't want to spend too much more time on Nintendo because we have given them a big segment, unlike they've given Pal World, unfortunately. But they do have an upcoming game coming out at the end of the month. We can play a quick trailer here for you guys to take a quick look. That is The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. It is set to drop on September 26th. This is a fun one. John and I have talked about it again, or before rather, on the show. It's very creative in some of the sense that, one, you're playing as Zelda instead of Link. I like that twist. It's something I feel like players have been waiting for a while. Yes, you eventually get some little Zelda segments in games, but Zelda is never really the main force. She's more the Princess Peach hidden away in the castle, and you're trying to take down Bowser to save her, in this case, Ganon. But overall, I like the fact that they are going to give Zelda a little bit more of an upfront in this one. On top of that, the creativity aspects are really cool. You have the ability to copy items. If you see a bed, if you see a desk, you see a bush, a table, whatever it may be, you can copy that item into your notebook and then use that item to create copies of said item to use them in creative ways. So that bed you copied earlier in the story, you can turn it into a staircase by stacking 4 or 5 beds on top of each other to make it up to a cliff. I love the idea of the creativity we will eventually see from this game, and I think it's going to create some really cool highlight clips as well.
Can you imagine if the Mario games were just called Peach? And you never
that
played
would be
as
very
Peach?
interesting.
You know, I don't know. Like, for the longest time, I've always wondered that. Like, okay, cool. You're calling it Zelda. Zelda's the name of the princess. Cool. That's great. You're gonna play as Link, and you're never.
I know that
play
is super fascinating. And plus, I bet so many people actually think Link is Zelda.
Oh yeah,
I feel
100%.
like so many people get that confused.
If you still have this ancient shop near you, it's called GameStop. It shouldn't exist, if I'm being completely honest. Or if you're old school and you have like your EB Games or your Funko Land. Yeah, we're dropping some throwbacks today.
Is EB Games even still around?
No, GameStop bought them out.
Oh, okay, I was going to say
same thing with Funko Land. Like
ever.
I used to go to the Funko Land in high school here in the DMV to get the games, and then GameStop became a force and bought them out, and they literally they still have them. 3 locations within 1 mile because they bought out the EB Games and they bought out the Funko Land, and they have a GameStop in the mall. So now they have 3 within a 1 mile radius, and it's absolutely wild. But yeah, go there and ask them. Go there and ask employees how many times people go in and ask about the new Zelda game, and they're like, oh, we love playing as Zelda. You're not playing as Zelda. You're playing as Link. Link is the character. Link is the name. A lot of people do actually think the main character is Zelda, and it's not. It's Link. So yeah, it's very interesting. The naming's very weird, but hey, it's Nintendo. If we question them, they sue us, so we don't want to do that.
And I mean, to be fair, Nintendo kind of set themselves up for this. If
Yeah.
they're going to name the title that, and then, like you said, have Link as the main character, they're just asking for confusion. I feel like maybe those Nintendo people, they originally named the game, then moved over to Xbox and started naming the consoles. It just seems like there's some weird similarities between these, I tell you.
The Xbox Series S1 12 360 720.
I mean, I am terrified of what name they come up with for this next generation. Like, where do they go after that? Do you go Series Y? Do you go Series X2? Do you say, wow, this was a stupid idea to begin with? This is the Xbox 5. I'm just very, very curious what they end up doing.
You can't go from X to 5 because that's essentially looking like you go from 10 to 5.
Well, I mean, they just went from X to S and decided let's confuse things as possible for our parents between the Xbox One X and the Xbox Series X.
Okay, so I'm going to call one of my friends out here real quick. He wanted to get the Xbox Series S because you can only play the new NCAA college football on a new gen console.
Mm-hmm.
So he's over here. He's like, oh yeah, he keeps sending me pictures. I'm like, bro, that's not a Series S. That is an Xbox One. You need to check what you're about to buy. He's like, oh, good call, good call. I'm like, look. The Series S looks like a speaker box at a drive-thru restaurant. That's what you need to pay attention to, right? This man went out and bought an Xbox One.
Nice.
Not once, twice. He bought it twice. He was like, there's such a great deal. I can't believe I got a Series S for $75. I'm like, you have two Xbox Ones for a total of $150. Which is 2/3 of what you need to get a Series S. It blows my mind that, like, oh. Now, in his defense, they do look fairly similar, but it's so bad. I mean, Microsoft did it to themselves, by creating two consoles that look very similar. But yeah,
and this is probably a younger guy, I'm imagining. Like, can you imagine like someone who's like a grandparent or like an older parent trying to find something for their kids with this crazy naming model? Like, it's just crazy to me. If you're not involved in gaming and you're not someone who is following on a little bit semi closely, it is so confusing to find what console is what. I'm just only imagining like holidays with these poor parents out there. So hopefully they get their naming scheme together. Again, Nintendo here with their crazy naming scheme as well. But in this one, you at least play as Zelda to go with the title, The Legend of Zelda.
Freaking love it. Absolutely love it. It's
so absolutely good stuff there. Let's head over to PlayStation. We got some stuff to touch on there as we continue to move along. The PlayStation Pro was revealed, John. Again, similar to a lot of the rumors we got on this front, a lot of that did end up being true. We're going to look at PlayStation's blog post here to kind of talk through some of it. Upgraded GPU with the PS5 Pro. We are upgrading to a GPU that has 67% more compute units. Most people have no idea what that means. Than the current PS5 console and 28% faster memory. We all like the word faster. That at least is nice. Overall, this enables up to 45% faster rendering for gameplay, making the experience much smoother. So what does this mean? It means better graphics and faster load times, more or less. All of your stuff is going to load a lot quicker. Your graphics in games that may have jumped previously are going to look less choppy. They're going to look a little bit more smoother on this higher powered GPU. You also have advanced ray tracing. They've added even more powerful ray tracing that provides more dynamic reflection and refraction of light. So your lights, especially in like dark caves or areas where the sunlight is peeking through trees, is going to look much more vibrant and a little bit more realistic on that front. And then we have AI-driven upscaling, something we're probably going to see a lot more in of games moving forward. They're introducing PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, an AI-driven upscaling that uses a machine learning-based technology to provide super sharp image clarity by adding an extraordinary amount of detail. John, you can probably explain this better than me, and I know you and your upscaling are not the biggest fans of one another, but My understanding of this is saying, hey, AI, can you Photoshop this a little bit for me? And more or less, they're just going through what we do on a video camera and they're sharpening a little bit. They're adding brightness in here and there just to kind of clean up the picture a little bit from that AI standpoint. So more or less, instead of someone taking a screenshot and doing the time of Photoshopping, or in this case, designing a scene and then cleaning up the brightness and such, it's allowing the AI to do a little bit of that for them as well.
Yeah. So think of it this way, right? For those who are getting the new iPhone or have updated to the new iOS system, iOS 18, you have a feature in Photos that I believe is out or is coming out in 18.1, where you can remove somebody from the background and then poof, magically, it's like they were never there. That's AI creating what it believes is behind that person to have in the photo. As someone who watches crime documentaries, I guarantee you people are going to try to doctor photos to submit them as evidence. Fun fact, it does mark photos. That is edited by AI. It's the same thing with what digital zoom is. If you use a digital zoom on your camera and it looks super freaking clear, but you're like 3 miles away, exaggeration. It's using AI to render what a clear image of that would look like. So, I mean, this is something that has been around already, right? It's just with the AI boom of before, it was, oh, AI is kind of a gray area. Do we really want to venture into this? And then all of a sudden, like 3 years ago, everyone's like, hell yeah, AI, let's go. We love it, brother. ChatGPT kind of crap. So everyone's been, going, full on with it. And that's what we're seeing is AI is involved in everything. Yeah. Is it going to make life easier and better in some cases? Sure. Is it going to make the PlayStation 5 Pro really cool, having AI help render out and smooth things over? Cool. Great. Yeah, it is. But Joey, I'm going to say this also. Most gamers are dumb. And this is the thing, is they are using very generic description. Smoother, faster. Oh, it's going to look
harder,
brighter.
stronger.
Yeah, better, faster. What was this, a Daft Punk song? So
yeah, right.
Here's the thing. Jimmy Kimmel did a great bit the other night. They were on the street with someone in an Apple t-shirt with literally the Apple logo taped on their shirt. And they're like, oh, would you like to try the new iPhone that's coming out on Friday? It has a great feature that will instantaneously transfer everything on your phone to the new iPhone 18. Do you want to test it out? And they said, yeah. They go, okay, cool. We need your phone. So they hand them the phone and they hand it to the person at the table with all the fake iPhone boxes for the new 16 that's coming out. And what do? Is they're interviewing the person about what they heard about the phone. And meanwhile, in the back, you see a guy with a microfiber towel just cleaning everything up, making it look real good, making it look real clean, putting it into a new iPhone case and handing it back. And they're like, here, try it. And they're like, oh, yeah, here you go. You ready for the descriptors? Smoother, faster, quicker. It looks great. It feels great. Look how bright it is. This used to be dark on my phone. It is your phone. Most people cannot tell the difference unless it slaps them in the face, right? Unless you're able to do something like pin apps somewhere on your homepage that doesn't automatically put it from top left to bottom right like you can in the new iOS 18. Like something like that where it literally has to slap you in the face. That's what people are going to understand. Most people can't tell the difference in the cameras that come out year after year after year because it's so minimal. But yet we are always quick to be like, oh, it's quicker, it's faster, it looks better. And people have no freaking clue, right? Unless you actually take time to like see the differences. Like go to your phone settings right now. I guarantee you most of your phones are set to 120 frames per second, even on your cell phone. You can put it into low battery mode and it'll change it to 60 frames. And everyone goes, oh, it looks like it's so slower. Yeah, because it's moving at half the speed. That makes sense. You can see that with the naked eye, right? But from 120 to 120, it looks identical, but they're going to be like, oh, it looks so much faster. It looks so much greater. Why? Because it's new. We've been conditioned that the word new automatically means bigger, better, brighter, sharper, faster, quicker. All these descripting words that are in every single press release for new material, including the amazing late generation PS5 Pro, which is better, slimmer, great, that's awesome, quicker, faster, brighter, and sharper.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great way to put it. And I think we have another great example in here. So if you guys remember when the original PS5 launched, on the box up in the, I think it was the top right corner, it said 8K resolution. We found out later that was upscaling, and we also found out later that PlayStation kind of lied about it, and then they initially took it off the box a couple weeks later. This one, once again, is 8K. You did 100%. You're like, that is not native 8K. It is upscaled, and that's 100% what it ended up being.
There's nothing in 8K right now. There's nothing in 8K.
Well, John, funny you say that, because the PS5 is launching with 8K gaming supported.
But there's
How
no
long do you think this
games-
stays on the box?
Joey, I can literally count on my fingers and toes how many games are native 4K. They're just not there.
Yeah,
it's too much space. We're already complaining about these hard drive sizes. These things are being shipped with only 1 terabyte, but Call of Duty is 525 gigs. That's literally almost half of your damn hard drive.
Yeah,
for one game, not including any patches or updates that come out also. These things are going to have to come with 10 terabytes as a storage to hold 10 games is what it's going to feel like. And if they're actually 4K, or God forbid we ever get to the point where 8K becomes a legit thing, which, by the way, I can count all the 8K TVs on one hand.
I was gonna say there's so few people with 8K TVs at this point.
There's no Hollywood video movies or TV shows in 8K. 4K is still so rare that Netflix charges you extra to unlock the 4K shows, and it's like 1 bar that goes through 3 times, and that's all they have. Right? It's literally all it is. There's just not enough content out there to justify slapping 8K on a damn box like Sony's doing and being like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. 8K native, not upscale. Okay, cool. What does it even mean? We still have technology that's upscaling to 4K. Now you're gonna be like, oh, we're upscaling to 8K. And of course, the consumer goes, oh, 8 is a bigger number than 4. Must buy, must have now. That's the problem with consumerism right now, is that bigger, better, faster, stronger, quicker, brighter, whatever, same crappy storage, and 8's bigger than 4, so we got to do that even though it doesn't really exist. There's not a lot of media out there that has that. But again, they're going to do it. And why are they going to say 8K, Joey? Well, I'll bring that back up once we get to the price of this beast.
Ah, yes, the price, John. Let's talk about the price. There were rumors that it did not include the stand. It sounds like the stand will now be included, but the disk drive will be not. So we're looking at a $699 US price point. No disk drive included. If you want the disk drive, I think I don't have the price in front of me, but I want to say it's somewhere around $70 or so to add that disk drive in as well, which to me is absurd for a disk drive. I don't feel like disk drives are that expensive, but I could be completely wrong on that front. So $700 for this beast as a late gen PlayStation 5, a couple years out from the new PlayStation 6, supposedly. It's set to launch November 7th, 2024. John, if you're choosing, let's just say, I don't know, you have a PS5, it's doing pretty decently. You're looking at a PS6 launching in probably 2027, 2028. Do you think this upgrade would be worth it?
Am I allowed to cuss on YouTube? Like, I don't know. Absolutely flipping not. Like, this is, number one, way too late in the generation, right? We're already expecting the next gen to come out in the next 4 or 5 years. We're at that time, folks. It's unbelievable to think. But we are at that time. The PS5 and the Xbox Series S/X is coming to its end. And it's wild because it feels like it was just a couple years ago Sony started talking about the end of the generation. And at least I was here on the show going like, what are you talking about? You've been out for like 4 or 5 years. What do you mean the end of a generation? You're at the middle point. This is when your refresh should be coming out. Fast forward 3 years later, here we are with that refresh at the ridiculous price tag of $700 freaking dollars. That's converted to 700 US dollars, by the way. But why? Why now? It's because Sony wants your money. And I get that. And guess what the consumers are going to do? Oh, well, I have that scratch on the case of my PlayStation 5. I can trade it in and get, $150 for this $500 machine I paid for a couple of years ago and put it towards a new PlayStation 5 Pro. Why? Why? Because it has 8K? Because it comes with a stand? Because it doesn't take up half of your living room when you set it up? Because you don't need a miniature ladder to climb up to the top of the box to unpack the damn thing? Look, this is just absolutely wild. And then to have the controversy over the stand, you can't see it because Joey's camera is covering it. I'm going to scroll up here a little bit on the screen. Vertical stand sold separately. Their marketing still says it's not coming with the vertical stand. So congratulations, Sony. If you changed your mind, you probably need to change your marketing also because you're not doing a very good job at it. No, this is such a waste of time and money, but the casual gamer with money is going to go ahead and buy it because why? Because Sony knows people are going to do it. Sony knows people are going to do it, and they're right. They're going to get the money for it. And then in 3 to 4 years, guess what's going to happen? Join us on Tuesday for a demonstration of our new PlayStation 6. Oh my gosh, congratulations. You just spent $1,400 in one generation in the last 5 years. Let's say you joined the generation late. Now you're upgrading to the PS5 Pro. $1,400 for 5 years of one generation. And guess what? You think that's going to be expensive? Knowing Sony and their price points, guess how much the PlayStation 6 is going to cost? Probably at least one of your kidneys, 2 of your firstborn, a blood sacrifice to the god Cthulhu, and probably Nintendo owning the rights to 3/4 of your life, and then suing you if you sneeze the wrong way and don't go hoo-hoo like Mario does afterwards. It's going to be absolutely. I said Nintendo. Why did I say Nintendo like that? I
don't know, but that was great.
But long story short, Sony is feeling their oats right now because they know for a fact that they can do this, right? Xbox already came out with their mid-gen upgrade, if you will, where you get a little bit more storage, a little bit more power. The Series S is still one of the best deals in gaming right now, even with the upgraded specs for a little bit more money. That's still the best bang for your buck. You include Game Pass, even at its new higher tier, is still a really good deal. And then you look at this, I'm not too upset about the idea of losing the optical drive, because let's be honest here, losing the disc drive is like the panic of that is like when Apple said we're not going to include the headphone jack anymore. Nobody uses normal headphones anymore. Let's be real here. Everyone has Bluetooth. Bluetooth you can get on Amazon for cheaper than wired headphones, believe it or not. It's absolutely insane. So I'm not too worried about that idea. And Joey, the cost of a Blu-ray optical drive, last time I checked at Micro Center, which was 2.5 weeks ago, for a PC, for a separate USB connected optical drive was $18. So yeah, they're not expensive. And if you're really that butthurt, I'm pretty sure you can plug it in one of those tasty USB-Cs that they upgraded to on the front of the PlayStation 5 Pro Edition and use your optical drive if you're that butthurt over losing the physical use of a CD, which is all just a digital code now to download it off the cloud and put it onto your hard drive.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. And I think you touched on a lot of the big points here. I think the only other thing, yes, there might be a time to upgrade, but I think it's very limited, right? Like, it's one, if you have excessive extra income and you just really want the brand new thing to try to play some 8K on your 4K TV, go for it. The other time would be if you're buying into the generation now and pretty late, but you haven't played a lot of the big games, your Horizons, your God of War, whatever the case may be, and you have that extra income that you just want to spend to get the best unit out there now because you won't upgrade for a while. Maybe you won't get the PS6 at launch. And I think that's a viable point because if we look at the really the attach rate from PS4 to PS5, 50% of PlayStation players are still playing on PS4. 50% of players. Now, I don't know what that shift is after college football came out. The NCAA College Football 25 game may have shifted that number a little bit more toward PS5. But at least at that point, 50% of the players are still on PS4, which is absurd this far into a generation. 4 years or so into this generation is where we are at the moment. Now, I think the craziest thing to me, and again, I'm not surprised we have a high price point with a premium item like this, but we're looking at a full PS5 with a disc drive at $500 to get the full PS5 Pro with that disc drive and with the stand, depending on if it's included or not, is $800. Is this worth a $300 upgrade over that base console? I don't think you can argue that it is. And if you want the digital, you cut out $50 for that disc drive, which was cheaper back then for some reason than it is now, which is also absurd to me. But $450, you could get a PS5 digital for $450 versus this. That yes, it will be cleaner. The graphic fidelity will be a bit nicer. Again, I think this is a premium item, and I think it will sell like a premium item. I cannot imagine this flying off shelves, especially when you look at like the European price, the Japanese price. It's even higher of a price difference over there than it is here in the US, where it's only jumping those $300 to get that full unit. Yeah, I don't. Part of me, John, and this could just be my theory behind it. We're seeing Xbox publish on other platforms, right? It's becoming more and more a common thing. Is this Sony trying to push and see how far they can go ahead of the PS6 launch? Are they thinking back to the issues they had with the PS3 where they overpriced and Xbox got a giant market share from this? Is this PlayStation saying, hey, maybe we should test the waters now ahead of that PS6 launch so we price it accordingly, where we push our lead, but we don't push too far to really piss people off?
You know, it probably is. And I hate to say this, but they're probably going to try to go the Apple route here. Joey, an iPhone 3 costs $600. An iPhone 5 costs $800. Now, the top line iPhone, granted, hasn't gone up in a couple years, which thank you, Apple, is still going to run you over $1,000 for a cell phone. For a cell phone, which its main purpose is to send and receive phone calls. I know that's breaking news to our Zoomers and our Gen Alpha listeners out there. It is to make phone calls. Text messaging, I'm a big fan of as well. I do not like talking to people on the phone. That was a secondary event when the iPhone came out and smartphones became a thing. I know it's earth shattering. Imagine only having one way to send those text messages and not 18 million different apps of doing that. Yeah. There was no Snapchat back in the day. So anywho, yeah, I do feel like they're testing the water when it comes to this price point. And if it sells well, and whatever that means for Sony, then you can guarantee the next generation is probably going to start at $800 as well. Because they can. And hopefully Xbox comes in and undercuts them. The big thing that Xbox is going to need to do is see, one, what kind of tech they're going to use in the next generation. Two, how much storage they're willing to include. Because I think that's going to be big. Yeah, I get cloud gaming is going to be a thing. I get cloud gaming is going to be huge. But at the end of the day, cloud gaming is there's still a long way to go with it, right? Having it downloaded onto a hard drive, the graphics tend to be a little bit better. It runs a little bit smoother. It's just overall a better experience than relying on an internet connection and a connection to the cloud server and that relay time between your console and that server transmitting that data. So I feel like, you know, while cloud gaming is going to be great for some people, overall for a vast majority of gamers, having a bigger hard drive is going to be the bigger issue here. And I mean it, right? Yeah. I'm not talking 2 terabytes. I'm talking at least 5. We need to start having consoles with at least 5 terabytes of hard drive with how massive these games are. God forbid you want to play Flight Sim on your Xbox, Joey. Good freaking luck. Good freaking luck. And that was a game that back in the day, when Flight Sim X came out in the early 2000s, Joey, was 6 CDs to download.
Wow.
6! It was absurd. And it was also only like 25 gigs, but it was absurd that it took 6 CDs. But now we have games like Call of Duty that's 300, 400, 500 gigs, takes up most of your hard drive. That's going to be the big thing. They're going to need to be able to balance power with storage. Storage is getting better, stronger, and smaller. Great, awesome, even better. Fit it in there, get your M.2s in there, get the storage up, get your technology there, but try to keep the prices down. The prices are getting out of control. Sony's going to take the gamble. Good on Sony for taking the gamble. I hope you fail miserably, and I hope you crash and burn. But yeah, I don't know. And the design looks weird. They literally added side flaps for cooling. It's like, oh, we're going to make it smaller, but now we have a heat problem, so we're going to add like essentially like jelly rolls to the sleek design for air ventilation. It's ridiculous.
Wow. I actually had no idea that was air ventilation, but I love that description.
It's like gills on a fish.
Yeah, makes sense. I guess that is a cooling thing. I have not checked out the full Cerny presentation on that one, but it makes sense. We'll keep it moving though, because we are kind of going a little bit over, but you know, we're still trying to get the time back, right? We've been here. It's been a hot minute. PlayStation 30th anniversary collection revealed. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on this, but I do think we should show it here for those live with us here on YouTube, John. This looks clean. I like the look of it. It goes back to that classic PlayStation look, back with the PlayStation 1, the original OG per se. You're shaking your head over there. You don't like the look of this?
I love
Too classic for you?
I love the look of it. I love
cool.
the look of it. I hate, 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 hate.
Wow, this is strong.
That they put this on the PlayStation 5. Like, this is just a recoloring. As a World of Warcraft player, I get irritated when Blizzard releases a new mount and all it is a different shade of freaking green or a different shade of blue. It's a damn reskin. That's all this is. They said, you know what? Coloring the plastic white is costing a little too much right now. How about if we just slap a little dot of black in there, make her the old-fashioned PS1 gray, and, we'll slather it on there. We're going to take our Crayola crown and color in the PlayStation logo like the old school days and just call it from that. I hate it. It looks great. I love it. I want it. It's stupid. I don't want it. I don't want anything to do with this. Yes, I'm going back and forth on it, but I think it looks great. I love the 30th anniversary idea. I think it looks ridiculous on a PlayStation 5.
Oh my gosh, I'm dying. For those who want to order this, let's see.
Don't order it. Don't order it.
Exclusively from PlayStation starting September 22nd or 26th rather. In regions where direct.playstation.com isn't available, pre-orders begin starting September 26th at participating retailers. For the digital PlayStation 5 console 30th edition or 30th anniversary limited edition bundle. Wow, that is a tongue twister. Pre-orders at participating retailers will kick off on October 10th. Again, these are for the regions without direct.playstation.com. So for our international listeners, and the DualSense wireless controller 30th anniversary limited edition standalone is going to be pre-ordering at participating retailers on September 26th.
What's the cost, Joey?
The cost is not listed, so approach with your own warning.
I'm going to tell you this right now because they had the damn PS5 Pro BS in this damn promo also with them side butt flaps over here.
This is wild. There is no price listed on this.
I guarantee you it's going to be at least $100 more to get this version. Guaranteed. There's no way they're releasing a limited time, limited quantity 30th edition PlayStation 1 reskin on the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro without it being a markup. I guarantee you this is going to be close to $1,000 freaking dollars because Sony are a bunch of greedy people.
Wait, for real? I don't see a price anywhere. Even on their website, I can't find a price.
Yeah, you're not going to. I guarantee you.
Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, so stay tuned, guys. Maybe next week, September 26th, we'll have that price for you. I am very curious on that one. That is very interesting. Okay, Sony, we'll see what cards you play on this. Last but not least, let's talk about some recent game launches coming out of PlayStation. Conquer, John. This is probably one of the worst game launches I can remember in recent decades, to be completely honest. Right up there with that Gollum game that came out and it did not do so hot. Conquered had a very poor launch in late August. PlayStation, however, made the swift decision to kill it. They said, hey, this game took 7 years to develop, but we are going to kill it off right now, not even a full week after launch. It may come back later down the line, but for now, all servers have already been shut down and refunds have been given. I hate and respect this at the same time, right? We're in a day and age where live service games vie for players' attention. It's tough for them to win those players over, and this game was doing so poorly. I mean, on Steam had, I think it was like 500 or 600 players, like a few days after the launch, when usually that's when you're seeing spikes into the near 100,000s for a lot of these live service games. It's just very, very poor launch. So I do respect that Sony made the quick move here instead of waiting for players to spend more, those 500 or so players who are playing, waiting for this game to continue to get dumped on, waiting for them to be paying for servers for the game that was not doing well successfully. They just cut it off right then and there. I do respect that. At the same point, I think eventually Sony has to look at all this money they've invested in live service, right? They continue to put more and more money, and we just see things falling apart. Destiny 2 has seen big drop-offs. We've now seen a big loss here. The Last of Us Online game got cut in development. They had another game that was unannounced that got cut in development that was live service. You have that Fair Games project from Haven. Who knows what that one ends up looking like? I think Sony is in a weird spot where they want to chase that Fortnite money, but they're realizing it's not as easy to gain as they initially thought it was. And that's why we see stuff like Conquered, which they put a ton of money into. 7 years of development is nothing to slough at. And then come out here and kill it a week later is a little crazy to me. But, and I'll hit on that in a second with you, John, they just chased it up with an incredible single-player game. Astrobot has had a stellar launch. Critical acclaim is off the charts. 95 out of 100, 99% of critics recommending it. We don't know what sales look like yet. A lot of people are saying it is under the sales projections. But as far as critical acclaim, similar to Hi-Fi Rush, it's one of those games that maybe is not selling quite as well as they wanted, but it's doing incredibly well with critics and will probably be up for a lot of Game of the Year nominations, as well as big categories at those award shows later this year. So Sony has been through the ringer, John, the last like 2 to 3 weeks. They probably had the worst game launch of the year, and they probably had the best game launch of the year, potentially, at least in terms of critical praise.
That's why the PlayStation 5 Pro costs so much. They have to make up for all that lost revenue from that horrible game launch. So here's my issue, right? So you're going to spend 7 years of R&D on a video game, on a studio, on employee salaries, on benefits, on everything to produce this game, and then pull the plug on it that quickly. Like, yeah, it was performing bad, but I mean, let's talk about some other games that were absolute busts when they came out, but were able to rebound. No Man's Sky, anyone? That's always my go-to bread and butter. That game was absolute crap when it launched. Absolute crap. There's no other way around it. It was bad. It was really freaking bad. And they bounced back. Yeah, it took them a couple years, but they bounced back. Cyberpunk. Good God. Talk about hard drive space needed in your console. That first hot fix was freaking 47 gigs. That's not a hot fix. That's a patch, my guy. That's literally an expansion of the game.
That's like 3 indie games.
Right? So I'm saying, like, you don't have to kill the game. Find out why the community hates your crap so bad. Like, what are they saying? Yeah, Steam may not be the best place to get legit feedback because, you know, review bombing's a thing. But at the end of the day, like, try to find out why the game sucks. Why do people not like the game? And then, crazy idea. Joey, you ready for this one? It's going to blow your freaking mind. You ready? Fix it. Oh my God, crazy idea. Look, yeah, you're going to get the Cyberpunk treatment of LvLUp absolutely chastising you for your 18-page, 43 gigabyte hotfix. But nonetheless, you're going to fix the problem. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You made a game that you were confident in. You released it. It didn't do so well, so you fix it. I mean, look, no one's going to call you stubborn for not. I mean, take a look at Overwatch. They're stubborn for not killing that game. Their own developer killed their own game, right? It's, you know, and I'm a Blizzard fanboy, and I'm going to throw them under the bus. Overwatch is crap. They literally killed their own esports scene. They killed everything about the damn game. So it can really go one and two directions. But in this case, yeah, cool, great. So you cancel it. Congratulations. Move on. and then you're going to follow up with an absolute banger. Cool, awesome. That's the way you want to bounce back. Like, I get that. That's fine. But at the same time, it's like, if that game is so successful, you know you're capable of putting out good games. Why not go back and try to fix that game you've already spent 7 years on? Maybe you just say, hey, I want to cut my losses, which fine, totally understandable too. Makes a lot of sense. But again, you still released this game before you pulled the plug on it. Why not give it a shot? Say, hey, look, we're going to give it another 8 months. If we can't get it fixed, it's dunzos, right? I don't think there's any developer in the world that wouldn't like a chance to fix a broken game, to try to get it back out there, to show gamers out there what their vision was for this game. Don't let it go down as one of the biggest busts in video game history. Don't let it be, I'm blanking on what that game was. It was considered like the worst game ever, that it was like thrown in the bottom of a landfill in New Jersey, because that's where everything goes to die, is New Jersey. So I'm not targeting that at anyone. But but nonetheless, right? It's just, I don't know. Like, I don't give up on the game that quick is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, I respect both sides. I think I like them cutting the loss, but again, like you said, I don't want them to give up on it either. And maybe they don't. Maybe they take this offline. They say, hey, we're not going to pay for servers right now, but everyone who purchased the game, we've kept their contact information. We're going to reach out for playtest to try to help improve the game. I don't know what that looks like, but we don't 100% know if it's dead. It easily could be. It could have been taken off the market and just completely gone. Or it could be, hey, maybe we're going to retool this. I think one thing it did well, and probably the only thing it did well, in my humble opinion, in the gameplay mechanics were not terrible, don't get me wrong, but I think the cinematics were really well done. I think if they were to retool this into something that's a little bit more story focused, maybe it becomes a single player game. Maybe it's a single player game with a multiplayer component. I could see that potentially coming out and selling pretty well. Does the multiplayer live long? I still don't know if it has enough there that really sets it apart from other games out there. But at the same point, I do think there are ways to, again, like you're saying, John, not lose all of that work over those past 7 years. Find ways to retool it, find ways to rework it, find ways to get that player feedback, whether that's through beta tests, surveys, whatever the case may be, and then try to implement some of that stuff. Now, again, if you're PlayStation, you don't want this to take another 7 years to fix, though. So I do think they are on a timeline here. If they are even developing into the back end, I think there needs to be some pressure put on the team to at least deliver something, or at least come up with a new concept pretty quickly if they are going to let this thing live. But there's other games out there, right? Like EA with Anthem. Man, I wanted to love Anthem. And I still think to this day, if they use the engine with the flying mechanics for like an Iron Man game that they had in Anthem, it would be friggin' phenomenal. But it is one of those games that just came out and it didn't really have much of an end game. There were issues with the looting system. So as good as the mechanics felt, there just wasn't enough base for people to really play around with after beating the main story. And I would love to see something like that get another shot. And unfortunately, EA killed it off. That could be what happens here with Conquered. Now, again, very different game. You have a looter shooter versus a heavy multiplayer kind of free to play, or it wasn't even free to play. I think that was another big mistake, actually. They charged like $30 or $40 for this game. In today's day and age, like we always say, with these free-to-play games really taking so many people's attention, it's tough to come out and say, hey, we're going to release a live service game with a $40 price tag. It worked for Helldivers 2. I don't think it worked very well here, and I think they should have realized that sooner. And then maybe at that point, you do let it live, John. Maybe you remove the price tag. You say, hey, we're going free-to-play. We're going to give everyone who bought the game an extra, I don't know, few skins and some in-game currency or whatever. That way you keep the little bit of money you did gain, and then you bring in potentially more players who are willing to try it for free to play versus someone like me who I'm not going to pay $40 for a live service game when I already don't have time to finish these battle passes for these other games. Now, if it's free to play, would I download it and give it a try? Probably. Would I love it? I don't know. But I wouldn't try it for $40. I would try it for free. And I think that's another mistake they may have made here as well. And PS Plus, they could have put it on PS Plus. There's just so many options that I don't think Sony really evaluated before completely killing it off as well as another thing to think about.
It could have been a launch title for the PS5 Pro. Like, it could come pretty.
Hey, there you go.
That was
Another option. Plenty of options out there. So we'll stay tuned to that, see if anything comes of Conquered and how Astrobot does as we get closer to gaming award shows. With that being said, we're going to slide over to Xbox briefly. Up, go ahead, John. What do you got?
Real quick, we all know how much I love IGN, right?
Here we go.
So IGN took a poll of fans who actually read their content
Oh, no.
50,000 responses that came in. 73.9% said the PlayStation 5 Pro was way too expensive, while 15% of people plan on either upgrading or purchasing the PlayStation 5, which I'm gonna be honest, 50,000 responses, that's more readers than I thought they would get, considering their reviews on some of these games have been absolute dog water. But yeah, I just thought that was a little nifty last punch at the amazing Sony PlayStation 5 Pro.
Yeah, people are not happy. I am very curious to see sales numbers when this eventually launches in November. So we'll keep an eye out. We'll probably get the first sales numbers, I would assume, posted in like December or January, right around that holiday window. So we'll keep an eye out. I'm very curious, but I'm assuming this will be on the very low end of sales. And I'm honestly going to go out on a limb and say the regular basic PS5 will outsell the PS5 Pro come this holiday. I'm pretty confident that we'll end up seeing that happening even this late in the generation.
And I will go on a limb and say that the original PlayStation 5 will not receive a price drop with the PlayStation 5 Pro coming out.
Yeah, could you imagine that jump? Oh my gosh. That would be wild.
No
okay, let's transition over to Xbox. We're not going to be too much later on here tonight. We have a documentary coming out. We hit it out on the top of the show. It is the development of Stalker 2. The documentary known War Game, The Making of Stalker 2, is set to drop on Xbox's YouTube channel on October 3rd. Guys, this is not going to be one for the easy of heart, per se. I think this is going to be a very deep documentary. This is a team based out of Ukraine that developed throughout the war. We saw some of the studio get split up. Some people moved to Poland. Some people moved to other parts of Ukraine to work remotely with their family during this hard time. Others ended up joining the war efforts. So this dev team got split up. The game got delayed multiple times, as you can imagine. But this is going to be a brutal look at what is currently going on in Ukraine, and being from a development team perspective of these people very passionate about gaming, very passionate about their country, working on this game during all of this going on. So, John, I can only imagine how powerful and wild this documentary is going to be. I definitely think this is going to be a big one for a lot of people to look forward to. October 3rd when that drops, and it'll be on Xbox's YouTube channel. And the other thing to say is, I mean, they did that. What was it, John? The 20th year anniversary of Xbox. I think they did a phenomenal time with that documentary. I think a lot of this crew, at least the production side of it, are people who also helped work on that documentary. So I think the quality should be pretty high on this one as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned their Xbox 20th anniversary documentary. They did not hide anything either. They were actually more transparent than I thought they were going to be, especially when it came to the Xbox 360 and the Red Ring of Death, which could have absolutely destroyed their brand. I thought they were very open with a lot of those issues that the Xbox 360 had in its generation. So that gives me some hope. This, like you said, is going to be very tough to watch. A Ukrainian video game developer having to try to not just continue to work on a game that they're passionate about, because at the end of the day, it's very minuscule compared to having your country invaded by a war criminal in Russia, falsely claiming the rights to your people and your land. At the end of the day, your livelihood, your ability to function as a human on a daily basis without the fear of a missile blowing your house up, or a school up, or a hospital up, or tanks coming in and just destroying your village or your town or your city. At the end of the day, that's what's more important, right? Is we all want to be able to walk outside our house without the fear of war, obviously. And in the present day age, it feels less likely of that happening. Whether you're in Ukraine, whether you're in a country that is riddled with violence in its own sense, whether it's drug issues in a country, whether it's political unrest in a country. There's so much going on in this world, and video games are used as a way to escape for an hour or two. To get lost in another world that may or may not have violence in it, but may or may may or may not provide a relief from your current situation wherever you may live in the world. It's documentaries like these that go to show that at the end of the day, while video games are something that a lot of us enjoy, a lot of us are passionate about, at the end of the day, it's a source of entertainment. It's a source of distraction. And at the end of the day, it goes to show that even a video game can help bring a sense of belonging and community together, even when it feels like that's being ripped from you in Ukraine in this sense. So I think this is going to be an absolutely fantastic documentary. I'm going to watch it. It's very, very intriguing. It's going to be very upsetting. It's going to anger a lot of people, as it should. You know, and even as we talk about it, you know, the war crimes of Russia are still raging well in Ukraine. Ukrainians are doing what they can to survive on everyday things that they can do. This studio, what's going to happen with them? We have no idea. What's going to happen with the rest of Ukraine? No idea. It's unfortunately a very sad documentary that shouldn't be needed, but it definitely is needed, and is probably going to be a big thing in history years coming once this is all done, hopefully sooner rather than later, to look back at and see the nastiness of war and what it really is like. Because, you know, thank God a lot of us in this world are not going to know what all out war looks or feels like. This is going to be the closest thing for people to understand the horrors of war and what it can do to a country, to a people. So I think this is going to be very good. I'm planning on watching it October 3rd. We should have a watch party on OTN's Discord is what we should do. I think that'd be very interesting. But yeah, I'm excited for it. Unfortunately, but yeah, I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I definitely think this is going to be very powerful. I mean, just speaking with some of like the developers on social media, I know some of them like there was like meetings with the coworkers, like, what are we going to do with this game? Like, are we still going to be able to develop? And again, as I said, like some of the development team broke off and went to other countries. Like I believe Poland ended up being kind of a sub studio. Others had to say goodbye to their coworkers to possibly never see them again. I mean, some of these guys ended up fighting in the war themselves. Some went to more war-torn areas to help try to move their families out. Yeah, it could be very, very emotional, very touching. But I'm very glad Microsoft is moving forward with it. I think it's a big statement to have a big tech company like that backing something like this, and to give kind of a ground level view of what is going on in these countries. Yeah, I think it'll be very powerful. October 3rd. Moving to a little bit of a lighter note, but again, a little bit of a loss here. Obviously, nowhere near the same significance. The Xbox Ambassador Program is ending. I believe it was going on for around 13 or so years. Xbox has decided that they are going to take what they learned from that program and continue to reinvest those resources in some of their other programs, such as the Xbox Insider Program, Xbox Rewards programs, and Xbox FanFest programs. A lot of this is your internal testing with the Insider program, the rewards. It's kind of giving back to those who are buying games or helping sample different games. And then you have the Xbox Fan Fest, which is kind of your big meetups, like your Comic-Con per se for Xbox, that happens throughout different countries throughout the world. I like this idea. It's sad to see the Ambassador program go. But as someone who has been involved in that program here and there, it has definitely fallen off. The website goes like unusable for weeks on end. Some of the content that gets posted is great, and some of the other content that gets posted is just a little few and far between and doesn't get posted regularly enough. So I do think this is a move where they started trending in this direction a few months ago. I'm not super surprised by it. I do hope that reinvestment is real, though, right? There are things we've seen canceled in the past where the reinvestment never really comes. I'm hoping that is not the case here. I'm hoping we do see those added resources get moved to these other people. It doesn't sound like there's been a lot of cuts for that particular team, at least from what I've heard. So I am hoping that some of those team members get shifted into these other areas to help bolster these teams as well. For now, though, I do think it is going to be a good move. Again, still a little bit of an open question mark, but I feel like there was a little too much freedom for the Xbox ambassadors as well. There wasn't as much follow-up on what was being said to the community. Some of the representatives out there were I don't know if they vetted their candidates as well in certain cases. So I do think there are ways to improve that program if it does eventually come back, or again, if it just ends up being a part of these other ones in some other ways. And then recent game launches, John, one of these you and I are quite excited for. That is the Age of Mythology Retold. We've talked about playing it. We haven't dove into it just yet, but Age of Mythology Retold is now available for PC and Xbox players. You can check that out. Think Age of Empires with God heroes to jump in there. If you want to be Zeus and throw a lightning bolt down on a city before you send your troops in to invade, you can do so in Age of Mythology. We have the Elder Scrolls Castles released on mobile, pretty much Fallout shelters with a castle theme. You have Elder Scrolls races and characters. And on top of that, you're creating a lot more policies. With Fallout Shelter, it was more about connecting the right person to the generator if their intelligence level was high enough, or engineers or whatever the case may be. You don't want an engineer cooking in the kitchen. You want someone with cooking skill. Same kind of ideology here, except there's a lot more policy making on the back end. So if you're into policy making and enjoyed Fallout Shelter, this one could be a game for you. And last but not least, Towerborn, unfortunately not out on Xbox consoles yet. It is starting on Steam Early Access. Will eventually make its way to Xbox consoles later in early 2025. This was the game of Gamescom a couple years ago. A lot of people were really excited for this. It kind of has that Castle Crashers feel with a little less of the humor and more of the kind of looter shootery aspects to it. A lot of regular weekly activities that are going to rotate through, similar to like John has played WoW with daily quests over there. I think this is going to lean a little bit more into the weekly. So a little bit more flexibility, but it should be fun for 1 to 4 players to dive into and have a lot of fun with that. So these are 3 games, very different genres. Lots of funness out there for PC, Xbox, and mobile players as well. Anything else you want to say on those 3, John?
Nope.
Okay, moving on. Multi-game general gaming news. There's one game I want to touch on here, and it is out this week. That is The Plucky Squire. This is my indie game of the year, the game I was looking most forward to this year, right up there with Black Myth Wukong. 2 indie games that I thought were really going to star, and 2 very different indie games at that. We do have a little trailer we can play for this live with us on YouTube. John, I love the look of this game. I've not played very much of it yet, and I think one of my big critiques already is that the difficulty feels too easy. I wish there was a hard mode, I think the normal mode should be the easy mode, and there should be a harder normal mode, to be completely honest. But mechanically, I think this game is a lot of fun. I think they do a really good job with the 2D to 3D transition. You can kind of jump between being a 2D character to being a 3D character and vice versa as the story progresses. I think that is a lot of fun, and I think it's going to be a really cool game to see play out, especially as award shows come later on this year, just because of a lot of the innovations we did end up getting from this one. And I am realizing that the trailer I sent you is some live action thing. It's not actually the game itself, but very similar art style and very similar mechanics. Just imagine them in a video game form as opposed to a pull-out storybook, and you are good to go. Definitely a cool game. Again, could use a little bit harder difficulty, but The Plucky Squire is worth checking out. And it's an indie game, and we love supporting indie games here at LvLUp.
Joe, it's too easy. Cuphead is too hard. Make up your mind. What do you want?
Oh my gosh. We're still doing a Cuphead stream for
no,
real,
we
though.
are
I
not.
think we should. We should buy some like breakable cheap controllers. I think it'd be great times.
Breakable cheap controllers. Words that do not make sense.
I mean, we can't afford a PS5 Pro controller to play it on. God forbid that'll run you $200
Yeah,
at this rate.
God forbid you get the PlayStation 1 reskin version of it. That'll cost you another kidney. Like, you're already down both of your kidneys if you bought the damn console and the controller. Jeez.
Ay, people. Ay. But yes, The Plucky Squire, go check it out this week. Some quick esports hits. Team Liquid has won Dota 2's The International 2024. John, I was looking at prize pool numbers because I'm like, oh, this always has an insane prize pool. Good Lord, this prize pool has fallen off real bad. It was like $70 million like 2-3 years ago. It was $2 million. The prize pool was like $2 to $3 million when I looked it up. I don't know what happened. The base prize pool was still right around the same level of that $1 to $2 million. But the player investment, I guess, just did not come through this year. Super unfortunate. I mean, congratulations to Team Liquid for winning it, but I think Dota 2's esports scene has just fallen off a lot more than I expected.
Holy crap.
As someone who doesn't really follow that scene very well, for a prize pool to be like, it was literally like 60 or 70 million, if I remember, just a couple of years ago, to drop off as far as it has. Oh yeah, here you go. Here's the chart. I mean, that is just an incredible drop. And at first I was thinking, oh, COVID, but no, it went up during COVID. So I'm not sure what happened, if Valve just really pissed off the Dota 2 community, if they said League of Legends, hoorah, if they went to CSGO and decided to go over there. I don't know what happened, But that is a very, very big drop off. I'm not sure if maybe the prize pool crowdfunding stuff has not been attractive the last couple of years. But yeah, that was a crazy surprise to me.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's like Overwatch League territory of bad.
I mean, this is like incredibly bad. Like, I was stunned. I'm surprised we didn't hear more about it last year. I mean, neither of us are Dota players, but I mean, that just alone is a huge drop. I mean, it was what, halved in 2022, and then it was like a quarter of that in 2023. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. It's like a bell curve.
Right? Except from 2011 to 2019, it was a nice, your 13 to 14 was a pretty big jump. After that, it was like, it's pretty steady. 2022, they're like, yeah, F this. We're moving on to other crap. And then 23 and 24, we're like, you know what, dog? We realize there's better games out there than Dota 2.
Like, I think that has got to be a study one day.
That's
like,
wild.
What the hell happened to that prize pool? Like,
Right.
Craziness. But regardless, Team Liquid, congratulations on the International 2024 win. Team BDS is your Rocket League World Champions as well. Team BDS coming home with a nice little prize pool from the Rocket League World Championship, right in line with what Dota 2's prize pool was this year. And then last but not least, the biggest esport of the event of the year, every single year without question, is League of Legends Worlds. It kicks off next week. For those interested, we do have a Pick'ems group running. I just kicked it off today. You can find the link to that, discord.me/OTN. We'll post it on social media as well. You guys can join in for that. We usually do a little gift card of some Riot points as well as a prize going to our winner of the Pick'ems. John and I have not watched as much League of Legends esports this year, so you guys might have a better chance of winning than previous years because we are not quite as well up to date. But go ahead and check that out if you're interested. League of Legends Worlds kicks off next week. And if you guys want to participate, again, discord.me/OTN for that Pick'em group. Last but not least, it is going to be a big week toward the end of this week and the beginning of next week in gaming. 9:20 at 6 a.m. Eastern time for the early birds of the East Coast. We have the RGG Summit 2024. RGG, for those who don't know, is the development studio behind stuff like Yakuza. Really popular franchises, especially over in Asia. Definitely worth checking out if you're into those games. Speaking of Asia, 9:26 to 9:29 is the Tokyo Game Show. Guys, there are going to be some pretty significant announcements of this one from the sound of things, especially from game developers of Asia. I'm hearing Square Enix should have a nice appearance there. PlayStation will probably have some pretty good stuff to show. It is a big anniversary for them. Xbox has announced they're going to have a showcase. I don't know if Nintendo has a showcase, but I believe they'll be on the show floor. Not 100% on that one. But you should see some big stuff from Capcom, Bandai Namco. All of the big Asian developers should be present in this one. And should be some pretty decent announcements coming out as well. A little bit later at 9:28 at 1 p.m. Eastern time is Minecraft Live. For those who want to get blocky and not only see that crazy movie trailer once again, which got plenty of criticism, more than 16 bits worth, there will be some other announcements there at Minecraft Live, which is taking a little bit more of a digital approach this year. Not quite a Minecon size thing, but it should be a good little stream. Should be fun. I've heard they have some fun little surprises planned for that one. So check that out, 9:28. And then there are rumors of a PlayStation State of Play or a Nintendo Direct. The PlayStation State of Play, Jeff Grubb is sticking with that it will be next week. Typically, if you look at the history, PlayStation almost always has a State of Play or a PlayStation Showcase or whatever their other alternative name is in September. So I think that is probably a good call. Plus, you just had the PS5 or PS5 Pro announced in a blog post. I think they'll probably want to hit on that a little bit more as pre-orders draw closer. On top of that, they should have some new games and DLCs and things to show. Probably want to hit on Astrobot a little bit too with its success. I don't know what all is going to be there. Again, the PlayStation first-party lineup has been pretty dry overall this year outside of Astrobot. So they don't really have too much that has been going in their favor in that aspect. But they have been signing some third-party deals once again. So maybe you'll see those there as well. Not too many details on that, but I should have some more to share next week if the show has not happened as of yet. And then again, Nintendo Direct, always possible. Nintendo likes to have a fall show. It could be sliding in next week, could be sliding in a little bit later. The way Nintendo goes, we probably won't hear about it until right before, maybe 24 hours, maybe a little bit less. Keep an eye out for that early next week. Free games from Epic. You guys can claim these ones until September 26th at 11 a.m. Eastern time. For those who are interested, that is Tome, a $19.99 value for free, and The Last Stand Aftermath, $24.99 value for free. You guys can go grab those whenever you want to, but it has to be before 9:26 at 11 a.m. Eastern time. John, anything else to touch on? I know you and I have been kind of working our way through our fantasy dynasty season for college football. Your team doing much more successful things than mine are. You have some Heisman nominees up there, at least one of them, I believe, alongside Clue from our Discord server. I've been playing some indie games. I know you've been playing some new WoW, The War Within. Anything you want to touch on before we wrap up?
Yeah, as we're speaking, I'm currently ordering the Tops Now card for Shohei Ohtani for being the first player in MLB history to hit the 50-50 club, 50 home runs and 50 steals in one season. The dude is absolutely insane, and this card is going to be hopefully worth money someday. So I may or may not be purchasing that. Nonetheless, yeah, War Within has been my bread and butter as of lately. Been doing a lot of that. We'll be doing that after the show today as well. Wing 2 of the first raid is out for LFR, as my guild does not really have a raiding team at the moment. So we'll do some LFR. Mythic Plus is currently out as well. Time Walking is out. That's giving out some really cool gear and mounts also. So we're going to be doing some of that. Obviously, college football as Clue in chat, a.k.a. One True Prophet. It's talking about the team, like you said, Joey, Tennessee in the SEC Championship. I already lost to Alabama earlier this year by 3 points. They kicked the last-second field goal. I am not very confident. My quarterback is banged the hell up since then. So we'll see what happens. I'll be relying a lot on my defense. It's been a very interesting season. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Yeah, I'll probably have to lock that in and get the game in so Clue can advance the week also. But yeah, other than that, Joey, living life. Oh, throw this one out here. You may have seen the shirt. Look at that.
Hey.
Went up to Brooklyn to catch the Linkin Park concert on Monday night. Absolutely incredible. Emily Armstrong, the new vocalist, was absolutely fantastic. I'm not going to get into the drama. If you want to get into the drama, go to the comment section of any Linkin Park post anywhere around the world and argue with yourself, slam your face into a wall, and call it a day. Yeah, absolutely fantastic show. Can't wait for the new album and can't wait for their tour in 2025 as well. We'll definitely be looking to check out to go to that show as well. But other than that, Joey, that's what I've been doing. What have you been up to?
I have been working too much, more or less. Yeah, it's been a little busy. My boss left for another agency, so it's been a little crazy at work. But outside of that, fun stuff. I've been reading some books, a little fantasy from Brandon Sanderson, working my way through the Stormlight Archive ahead of book 5 releasing in December. Nerd. And then on the gaming side, I've been doing a little bit of Star Wars Outlaws, not enough to be honest. And then playing a little Plucky Squire on the indie side of things, as well as, again, getting my butt kicked in college football. I'm playing as Virginia Tech, and we'll see if I still have a coaching job there at the end of this season. I believe the game does not let you get fired after one season, so I should be safe. But season 2, I will probably be on that hot seat from the beginning. We'll see how it all plays out in the end. I did end up, John, I got a not a true 5-star recruit, but I got 2 4-stars who had green diamonds. So I'm going to count them as 5-star recruits in my mind.
Might as well.
Pretty happy with that, especially with the record I pulled this season. I think I had like 2, maybe 3 wins.
Real quick. Hey, Clue. How's it feel to get locked out on that cornerback, that number 1 overall cornerback in the nation?
Ooh.
I don't know if you saw, but he committed to the University of Tennessee. Yeah, sucks to suck. Yeah, look at that. Oh, it's tough. It's tough. So you win some, you lose some. I don't know.
Wait, who is the team? Wait, what? A dude named Squirrel on your team? Is that you or me? I don't remember.
Probably you. I don't think I have anyone named Squirrel on my team.
Yeah,
that definitely sounds like a Virginia Tech player. Definitely sounds like a Virginia Tech player.
I am very curious on that one.
Squirrel touches the hokey stone.
Yeah, Squirrel needs to get out there and perform then. Come on, buddy. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go look through that roster now after we wrap up today's show. But yeah, plenty of games to play, guys. Again, the Plucky Squire new indie game just recently came out. Same with Black Myth Wukong. Both really cool indies. Both should be up for some big awards this year. Check those out. As far as first-party games from the big console developers, Astrobot is performing extremely well. Again, 99% of critics recommending it, 95 out of 100 on OpenCritic. Definitely worth checking that out if you're up for puzzle platform action. And then for those who are doing some things on the Xbox PC side of things, Age of Mythology Retold, I'm hearing some pretty good things about. Not played it myself as of yet, but definitely hoping to dive in here sooner than later. So that could be a cool one to check out as well. And it is available on Game Pass too. So lots of good stuff to play. Lots more coming later on, including that Zelda game later this week and all the announcements to be at the Tokyo Game Show and beyond. You guys can stay tuned for the latest news here from Level Up as John heads us into that closing. And again, discord.me/OTN to join the conversation.
Had to remember to turn the Bluetooth back on so I could play the outro music. What do you know? It's been that long, folks. Nation, that is going to do it for this edition of Level Up Live. But before you go, make sure you follow the show on YouTube. Have to change that in the notes as well to catch the next episode of Level Up Live. If you listen to the show on our podcast feed, please do leave us a review. Level Up Podcast is available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and your podcatcher of choice. Look us up. We are there for you. Make sure you leave us your feedback. We always love to hear from our community, so go ahead and reach out to us. Joey, what are some of the ways our community can hit us up?
Absolutely, guys. First of all, thanks for joining us over here on YouTube. I think we are OTN Media _ over here on YouTube. We'll get that link in the notes. But yeah, we'll be jumping around a little bit, seeing where our show ends up landing between here and Twitch. But thanks for joining us. You can also find us on Twitter /X and Facebook at OTN Media, Instagram and Threads at OTN _media. And last but not least, find us again on YouTube over here at OTN Media _ or on Twitch at OTN Media over there. Lots of places to find us. And again, last but not least, the best place probably is Discord, discord.me/OTN Media.
All right, make sure you tune in next week. That is Thursday, September 26th, as we continue to cover the latest in gaming news. Do your ears and eyes a favor. Hit that sub and follow button. I don't think we have a sub button or I don't know.
I don't know what we have over here yet.
You know what? If it says click here for notifications, just click that on YouTube. We'll figure it out later. We'll be more prepared next time on YouTube. How about that? Make sure we'll catch you. Whatever. We'll catch you all next week. It's whatever. Have a good weekend. Be nice to your fellow gamers online. And as always,
level up.